What is the worst thing you have heard uttered from another human being? T.J. Lane, mass shooter of Chardon High School in 2012. After being sentenced, Lane said to the victims' families in the courtroom, "This hand that pulled the trigger that killed your sons now masturbates to the memory. Fuck all of you," while giving the middle finger to attendees. Do you know the real reason you were adopted? Insert name of classmate. Because your real parents didn't love you, screamed my second grade teacher at my classmate because he forgot his spelling book. If you, still alive, Miss Streeter, I hope your life sucks. I'm going to kill you someday. This was said by my stepson to my puppy about an hour before he doused her in furniture polish and almost succeeded in killing her. He was 6. He hasn't changed. The dog and I now live elsewhere. Your baby died in utero because it didn't want you to be its mother. I am going to find a beautiful woman and give her everything you ever wanted and I never gave you, and make sure you know it. Tilda, my, now ex, husband of 15 years and 4 children together. That's why your mom, in a fucking wheelchair. Someone close to me was raped. As we took her to the hospital, a guy close to her said, "Doubt it. I bet she just regrets it. The girl needed reconstructive surgery." I never looked at the guy the same. Every time my former best friend got drunk, he told me he was going to rape a bitch. I told myself he was joking the first handful of times and laughed it off, then started telling him that I am going to start leaving tips with the police every time there's an unsolved case. Our friendship finally ended with a fistfight over his drunken declarations. A coworker who said she didn't believe women who had C-sections could call themselves real mothers. There is no activity in his brain. And that's how I learned my little brother was gone. From my mom when I told her that my dad was sexually abusing me and my sister. Is this really the sort of thing that goes on in your head? That absolutely did not happen, and if anyone ever found out about these strange thoughts you're having about your own dad and your own little sister, I dread to think what would happen to you. For your sake, I hope nobody ever finds out about you. You deserve everything that happened to you, my best friend. Weeks after I confided to her that I was raped. My uncle suffered a pulmonary embolism and lay dead on his bed. We was waiting for someone to come take him, and his wife said to my dad, "You can put those watches on eBay." My uncle loved fixing watches and made quite a collection. Luckily they were worthless and that vulture flocker got nothing. We broke up. It was my fault. The last thing she said to me was, "I hope that someday you will hate someone as much as I hate you." That still stings a bit, and it was over 40 years ago. 2 kids in my Heath class. Imagine there was a school shooting right now, and the shorter left us with a bunch of dead girls to flock. The first thing that comes to mind. A guy the first used to know told me with pure hatred during a relatively casual conversation, I should have taken a machete to that bitch's uterus to prevent that mistake from ever being born. The mistake being his own child and that bitch being his ex-baby mama. I haven't spoken to him since. My parents, you were a mistake, never meant to happen. I would send you off to military school, but you aren't worth the money. A girl I knew in high school remarked that it was a good thing her sister-in-law had a miscarriage because the baby had been given an ugly ethnic name. Do I know you? After trying to talk to someone I thought was my only friend after they were busy with exams. I'm not a fan of public speaking, and in college I had to read in front of the class. Afterwards, my teacher told me in front of everyone that I would never amount to anything in life. Jesus, I need a drink after reading some of these. When I was a contractor in Iraq 2005 living in an Iraqi military base, I heard an Iraqi tell another Iraqi in English that he was going to rape the female contractor that was sent over with us as soon as he got the chance, and the other Iraqi said he would help. We sent her same day to a new location on an American facility. A coworker went on an anti-native rant involving your usual drunk Indian stereotypes, culminating in his idea to put all the natives on an island and bomb it. The guy has 2 kids that are half native. After my best friend shot himself, I was grieving hard. My boyfriend at the time was jealous and fed up that I was still so upset, a whopping 4 days after it happened, and told me, "Fuck sake, if you miss him that much, why you just join him." When my parents told me, "You were a bad investment, a waste of money and time." A horrid, evil witch of a narcissistic biatch, screeching that she'll take her husband for everything he's got, accuse him of rape and abuse, calling him all types of derogatory words and hoping he'll get his hole stretched out when he's gang raped in prison. She ended up in jail. You read just like your father, you got that, insert last name, blood running through you just like him. Dad was a pedophile who molested us and my mom hid it for 10 years. My brother was 13 when she said this to him. First job was working a kitchen. One of the cooks was a creepy old man who apparently had a creepy old friend that worked at the roller rink. Said his friend loved working there because of all the young girls that came in. Added on that he doesn't blame him because he prefers a tight fit himself. My brother telling the doctor to give his wife a husband stitch right after she gave birth to his son. One of my wife's cousins told me I'd end up single and alone for the rest of my life at our wedding. She then told me I should take some shots to loosen up. I'd been over 5 years sober at that point. And she knew that. There's plenty of other stuff she's done over the years too. Worst person I've ever met in my life, besides her husband. Was reading the paper on a work break in 2007 or 2008. There had been a suicide bombing which Al-Qaeda claimed responsibility for. In regards to innocent people being killed in these bombings, one of their members was quoted as saying, "Innocence ISN, T an excuse asterisk. Son, I'm flocked. My dad in the middle of the night stumbling to the bathroom, realizing and admitting he had lost his battle with cancer, about 2 or 3 days before he passed. Up until that point he was going to beat this thing, retire, see his boys grow up, get to meet his grandkids, all those things." My mom's instant reaction to an advertisement asking for donations to a children's cancer hospital was, "Oh my God. Why are the kids so ugly?" I went to the airport with my then girlfriend's parents to welcome her back from a month-long international study trip. I brought flowers. Saw her walk in, give hugs to her parents, then she awkwardly hugged me and whispered, I wasn't exactly faithful in Greece. We all had a 2-hour drive back to her hometown together. It was awkward. My husband's coworker at the time was helping us with some land clearing, and then we had a little bonfire and he drank a few too many beers and started actually hollering out of the blue about how he'd smash a little sand and GGR baby against a tree right now if he could. He was not allowed back on our property. Mom is gone. A customer holding up a print of Picasso's Guernica and asking me if this is available in color. From someone I considered a close friend. All this depression, anxiety and suicide is a flocking joke. Mental health bullshit is just a cry for attention. This person knowing full well I've lost far too many friends and family to suicide, knowing full well I've struggled a lot with my own mental health. Got drunk with a friend of mine and he confessed to me that he had raped his little sister when he was 13 and she was 9. I immediately left him at the bar and notified the police. Dunno what happened after that, but I never talked to him again, and he is lucky I didn't just beat the shit out of him on the spot. My mom to me when I told my parents I was joining the army. Only sluts and whores join the military. I left for the MEPS station on her birthday a few months later. I wish you would have died of cancer. My sister to me when she got mad at me about something. I've been reading through these and it's really concerning how many of them are about rape. Traveler, Manhattan. Behavior patient, homeless. Probably 12 of us in the room trying to settle this patient. I am going to give you my hepatitis. PT starts spitting blood and saliva, manages a huge loogie with blood to hit a tech in the eye and mouth. I can say what happened after that. Just say that it was intense, and some humans are absolutely vile. Former friend brag about helping her friends cheat on their spouses. I couldn't believe someone would be proud of ruining relationships and deceiving people. Stop crying over Everlay, my daughter. She was only here for 8 days. My dad lived over 80 years. I actually have a reason to be sad. Your mother is not responding to the chemotherapy and we need to make arrangements for hospice care. Your son has stage 4 cancer. Talking about his cousin who was drunk and dancing around provocatively at a party. If she wasn't, my cousin. When I was a teenager waiting for my bus to work, a bunch of younger kids were talking loudly to one another and one of them just says, I can't wait for my nan to die so I can get my inheritance money. I hate you. My mom when I was 8 inches. I done. Love you until you make a success of yourself. My dad when I was 17 feet. When it was found out I was adopted at school and news traveled around, a kid a few grades lower than mine would scream, rape baby, and laugh at me every time he saw me until I left that school. That's definitely up there. Maybe not the very worst, but the first that comes to mind. And when you called to tell me you'd been raped, you ruined my ex-Miss ex-best friend. My mother picked my sister up from school early one day because she wouldn't stop crying. Apparently some bully called her an ***** bitch. She was in 2nd grade and at that point didn't know what those words meant. I'm mad that a kid so young used such racist words. I'm furious I had to explain to my sister what he meant. It should have happened to you, coming from my best friend after she found out a random hookup gave her genital herpes. My father, I love you, but that doesn't mean I have to like you. You should have been on the road. My mom one day when we were arguing. She was referencing how my brother was killed when we were 6. We were walking home from school and a drunk driver flew past and hit my brother, who was walking on the side of the road. I was walking on gravel and was skimmed by the car. But aside from being spun around and having a few scrapes, I was fine. An ex I had been dating was being very cruel and hurtful and I was begging her to stop being so mean, and I asked her why she had to get so personal and vindictive. Her response was, you should just expect your partner to attack you sometimes, get over it. Needless to say, things didn't work out. Now I'm with someone new who's so kind I'm almost shocked. My 12th grade English teacher explaining, why black men's heads look like pineapples. This was in 1985. I hope the vaccine kills you. My anti-vax sister wishing me dead during an argument she instigated. When my brother's girlfriend told me she was getting welfare, I replied, at least you, re. And before I could say, looking for work, she blurted out, not a flockin' N. You might grow up to be pretty, but you, never be beautiful. My mom said this to me when I was about 9. I am 55 now. At a pretty low point in my life I was being bullied by pretty much everyone in my grade at school and I could handle it anymore, so I vented to my best friend at the time and he looked me dead in the eye and said, if you, gonna be so depressed about just go jump off a bridge then. I haven't spoken to him since. Picture me, turning 16 in 3 days. I asked my sperm donor if he knew what day it was in 3 days. He said, and I quote, yep. The 16th anniversary of the worst day of my life. That was far from the worst he ever said to, and about me, but it hurt the most out of all the things he ever said. My father told my younger brother he'd rather have a murderer or drug addict son than a homosexual one, when he came out about a year ago. I already thought I had a pos father, but that made me stop seeing him as a human. Last time I talked to him, I love you grandpa, him, I can barely stand you. My stepsister once said to her mom that if she got a puppy, she was going to drown it. She was like 18 at the time, maybe 19. It was in response to being told she could not get a cat. I took her to get a burger and told her she was a monster and needed to get some help because that kind of dark-ass place shouldn't be the first place her mind goes when she doesn't get her way as an adult. Probably not the absolute worst thing, but it hurt deeply. When I was told by my then husband that my panic attacks were for attention. 10 years later he started being plagued with them, but I never said a bad word to him. Was riding in a work truck with a guy and we passed a jogger and he leered at her as long as he could and then looked at me and said, "She's warming up breakfast." Dear Lord, these are dark. If anyone needs a new parent because yours is trash, I'll adopt you. I hope you rot in there. My mother confining me to a very infamous psychiatric hospital in my city after my depressive episode, mental breakdown. She was the only one who could take me out, and she confirmed she never would. Until my boyfriend came to rescue me. "Do you want mommy to send you back?" said by my Baptist neighbor lady to her hysterically crying adopted Vietnamese 4-year-old daughter, overheard through their open kitchen window as I walked into my house. I was cashing out at the bar of a Mexican restaurant in small-town America. Fox News was on the TV. Trump was giving a speech while campaigning for the 2016 election. I heard two old men chatting a few bar stools down from me, and one of them said, "I tell you what, Hitler had the right idea." I wish I was lying. I had sex with another man. Friend at a party whispers in my ear, "I think I just shit myself a little." And after they had shot my father outside, I watched them rape my mother, a young boy from Ukraine talking about his memory of the Russian soldiers. That I looked like a school shooter and would die without ever seeing a vagina. He was right about one of those things. Still, flock you callin'. Old enough to pee, old enough for me, older brick mason I apprenticed under. I needed a third child like I needed a second hole in the head. My dad, to me, his third child. A female lawyer I was having dinner with told me how she made a dad wearing boxer shorts around the house seem like sexual assault in a custody case she won. She smiled and said she timed it so this poor bastard had no chance to reply. I got up and left immediately. I love you, but you are not serious people. I'm only with him so I can get close to his best friend. Maybe hearing from a person I loved deeply at the time, while feeling safe in his arms, described to me how he slept with someone else. How he held her just like how he was holding me. The world felt like it changed colors. I don't regret loving him, but I wish I didn't waste so much of my time and effort on someone who seemed hellbent on breaking me. When I was a kid I was working at an arcade when I overheard a pregnant woman telling her friend, "I am ready to drop this bitch to get a fat check." I don't know why, but it really bothered little 16-year-old me and I haven't forgotten it since. Whether or not you want it, I will find someone to rape you so you can get pregnant. My mother, I can do a series on quote from her and my dad. I would have chosen you to die because you're the youngest. And #X200B. Said to me by my mother when we were watching Sophie's Choice. Fantastic movie, by the way. I thought you were a virgin. My birth giver, after telling her I had been raped, "This is all your fault. It should have been you." Mother of late husband to preteen child, at his funeral after he took his own life. Child was with me when I found him and saw it all. Affix bayonets, my grandfather's commanding officer, D-Day. Looks like a good tree to hang him from, said by a white coworker about the black owner of our company. Just one of a few gems, this particular guy said. Still didn't get rid of him until a few months later. He kicked a service dog at a special needs home. Your mother was a hamster and your father smelt of elderberries still hurts. Whispered in my ear, "We're no strangers to love." They, just hookers, who cares? The next day, after me, my mom, and two younger brothers had endured another terrifying night of being physically and verbally abused by my very violent drunk alcoholic dad. My mom looked at me and said that since I was 15, which is underage, she could give me a loaded shotgun, and if I killed my dad that I wouldn't go to prison because it would be self-defense. I was delivering some stuff to a daycare and heard a care worker say to a fussy 3-year-old child, "See, this is why your daddy left you." At school a while ago 2 girls were arguing over who had to sit next to me because both of them didn't want to. Stood up, called them a pair of bitches and walked out of class. To this day I just ignore them if they try to talk to me. Some woman was sitting on a highway overpass in Virginia, debating whether to kill herself by jumping down into the river below. Frustrated drivers, annoyed by the backed up highway traffic, were shouting, "Just jump." She did end up jumping, and died. Also, I am leaving you and the kids, for my now ex-husband, while I was still under a suicide hold after he hadn't spoken to me for 6 months. Don't worry, at least with me as your kid's stepmom you know they won't end up with anyone crazy, my best friend, as I was crying in the kitchen because what was supposed to be a temporary separation turned into a full-on breakup between my now husband and me. The first bit of proof that she'd been lying to my face and was in fact planning on being with him. Me, as a rhetorical question, asking my ex why on earth someone would cheat on their partner when they're old and he said, "Because the woman stops putting out." I'll never forget that. Ex told me he'd eat my corpse. It was about 3 days ago. I overheard it from a very overweight family while they waited in a line. "Oh, did you see Kevin? Yeah, he lost so much weight, he looks great. Yeah, he got diabetes. Oh wow, I need to get diabetes now. I want to lose weight." Long story short, my brother went to the hospital at the peak of COVID because he accidentally cut himself and started yelling something along the lines of, "What do you mean a white man has weight for all of these black people to be seen first?" I'm pretty sure it was something I said myself. I only opened my mouth to change feet. If you don't, let me leave right now. I will *see king come on your floor. 2 Aboriginal dudes were sizing each other up for a fight. One of them said to the other, "I am going to make you piss blood, you cunt." I felt those words right in my guts, and until this day every time I hear those words it hurts down there. My mom told me she wished I had been put into someone else's womb, out of anger during an argument. She has untreated borderline personality and bipolar disorder and would say the most hurtful things and horrible lies. Broke it off and haven't seen her in over 10 years. Have a loving wife and 2 beautiful kids that she'll never meet.